For the past 6 months, I've been bulking and putting on as much muscle as I physically can. No shortcuts, no shoveling food down my throat, just a well thought out gaining phase over a long period of time. In this time, I've managed to gain over 12 kilos in the process, and I'm still not fat. I've grown a hell of a lot more muscle, and I'm so much stronger than what I was. In this video, I'm going to cover everything I've done to maximise and get the most out of my gaining phase. The training, the nutrition, the lot. You're gonna get everything inside this video so you can take it away and implement it into your own gaining phase. My name's Leo. I've coached over 25 guys drop fat and build muscle, and I'm currently on my own physique development journey, just finishing up my bulk in prep for my photo shoot in November. The first thing I did was actually mapping out my bulk. When I started to increase food, I was at the leanest point I'd ever been in my life. I started with a 6-week aggressive fat loss phase so I can get really responsive to food and actually utilise it in my training sessions. And that's a tip for you to take away. Are you even lean enough to start a bulk? Yeah, sure, you can get away with holding a bit of body fat and still going into a bulk. The process is going to be a lot harder and a lot harder for you to actually build muscle compared to if you're leaner, where you can absorb the food, be responsive, partition nutrients better, and actually make the most out of your gaining phase. After the 6-week aggressive fat loss phase, I took a 2-week reverse phase where I managed fatigue, managed my body fat levels through the progression pictures I was taking, and made sure I didn't gain any excess body fat in the process. This is just a fancy word to taper up your calories back to maintenance before you go into a calorie surplus and start gaining muscle. Speaking of calories, the second point is keeping your nutrition set up the exact same in a bulk that it was in your fat loss phase. My food choices haven't really changed, whether they were at 1600 calories at peak diet or 4000 calories at peak bulk. Yeah, sure, there were a few changes here and there in the process to make sure my digestion was in a good spot still, but the majority of my foods stayed exactly the same. In easy terms, your digestive system knows what foods they are. They know how to digest them, they know how to actually absorb the nutrients and utilise those for energy. If you do eat the same foods week in, week out, your digestive system will thank you for it. You'll be able to push food a lot higher because your body is going to be able to digest the food as quickly as possible. Your body knows what nutrients need to be absorbed and how to break that food down. I think there's a common misconception with the word bulk. Usually that means shoveling shit down your throat, takeaways, sweets, chocolate, just to get calories in. But all that's going to do is fuck up your digestion and make it so you can't utilise the food that you're actually eating. And as a byproduct, you're just going to gain excess body fat that you don't really need, which is going to break it down and make it harder for you in the long run. You're not going to be as responsive, you're going to look worse, you're not going to be able to make the most of building muscle in the gaining phase. For carb sources, my go-tos were rice, pasta, cereal and bagels. That was pretty much it. I used similar foods in my fat loss phase like the rice. I made a few swaps here and there because I needed to, because I would be eating too much food for me to physically handle. I needed to because if I was eating the lower calorie foods, I physically wouldn't be able to eat it at 4000 calories. But making smart swaps here and there, for example, swapping potatoes for pasta, oats for cereal. You should only really be making these changes once calories get too high to the point where you've got too much food to eat and you just can't do it. Point number 3 would be how quickly you are actually gaining scale weight. Rough point you want to be aiming for is around 0.4 to 0.6% of your scale weight each and every week. The body doesn't work in a linear fashion though. One week it may be 0.8, the next it may be 0.2. As long as on an average you're gaining around 0.4 to 0.6% of your scale weight, you should be fine. You shouldn't be gaining too much body fat too quickly. You should be staying in a leaner point so you're responsive, can actually use the food that you're eating. Over the 6 months I was bulking, I gained 0.5% of my scale weight on average, which is about perfect. That's because I stuck to the same nutrition, I didn't shovel shit down my throat, I still did cardio, still kept my steps high to keep responsive and actually use the food that I'm eating. You'll hear me a lot say that in this video, but it is the main point of a bulk. You need to be eating foods that you can actually use to fuel you for your training performance. And I knew I wasn't gaining too quickly because I was taking progress photos 1 time a week, making sure my body fat percentage was staying in a good spot. I wasn't gaining too quickly or too slowly, so my food was catered around the visuals and the scale weight. I only pushed food up when weight started to stall and the visuals weren't really looking like they were going anywhere. Point number 4 is your training. The whole point of a quote-unquote bulk is to maximise your training performance and increase your recovery capabilities so you can train harder each and every session. You can progress in the gym, you can progress your lifts, you can get stronger, and that's what actually grows muscle in the long run. People get misconstrued with what a bulk actually is. They think it's just gaining excess body fat, eating so much food to the point they feel sick, and then they're surprised why the quote-unquote bulk doesn't actually work. People get misconstrued with the quote-unquote bulk because they eat so much shit, they eat so many takeaways, so much processed food that it fucks up their digestion and they can't actually utilize the food in the gym. The whole point of a bulk is to get stronger over time, increase your weight, increase your reps, increase the level of execution. Because you've got more energy, you can actually put time into doing that, which is going to deliver a new stimulus to the muscles so they adapt and get stronger and bigger over time. The fifth and final point is not getting complacent. Being in the growing phase can get very, very repetitive and tedious because nothing's really changing. Visually, you aren't really looking much different week on week, and you may even think you look worse than when you first started. But if your recovery is in a good spot, you're training hard and to failure with good execution, your nutrition is set up and catered towards what part of the bulk you're in, then there's no chance that you're not growing muscle underneath that slight layer of body fat that you've gained in the process. What separates the guys that manage to develop their physique over time and the ones that don't is seeing out this phase. This is the most important phase you will go through while developing your physique. It's where the muscle is built, it's where the sculpture happens, and it's actually where the visuals change once you strip off the body fat and get to the same level of leanness to where you started. It's going to challenge you mentally and physically. You're going to feel beaten up from training hard all the time. You're going to feel bored. You're going to feel like you just want to eat everything in sight because you want to gain all the muscle as quickly as possible. Or you either want to strip off all the body fat because you don't feel comfortable with how you look. But this is all part of the process and it will pay off once you get to the end point of the bulk. Thanks for watching the video. If you want to work with myself, I have one-to-one coaching spaces available at the minute. So click the link in the description to my Instagram. Give me a message saying you've watched this video and I'll send over some more information. But for now, do the usual, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this video in the comment section and I'll see you in the next one.